Good evening, everybody. Um, am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Thank you, thank you. So we are in week 7. We have our live sessions, weekly live sessions for the NPTEL course on urban utilities planning, water supply, sanitation, and drainage. The course instructor is Dr. Devapratim Pandit. He's an associate professor at the Department of Architecture and Regional Planning at IIT Kharagpur. I am Monica S. I am a research scholar at the same department. So we have two primary modes of interaction for this course. One is our weekly sessions every day from Monday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. After every question or like a few questions, once I prompt, you can raise your hand, unmute, and raise your query, or questions can also be posted in the chat box. You also have a discussion forum where any questions related to the live session or otherwise about the course also can be raised and they'll be addressed accordingly. So, week 8 primarily dealt with sanitation and drainage fundamentals. So, let's have a short recap. The first two lectures focused on the basics of sanitation. We covered concepts like some of the basic terms, key issues, the purpose of sewage collection, conveyance and disposal, sewage and sewage treatment and responsibilities, sewage project planning, city sanitation planning, sanitation and health, and data and service that are sort of prerequisites for starting sanitation planning. Then the next three lectures went on to sewage systems. We covered on-site sanitation systems primarily, including post-flush water serialization, bleach pits, septic tanks, secondary treatment and disposal of effluents, upflow aerobic filter, aqua privaries, package septic tank, advanced systems, septage, and cesspools, chemical toilets, light soil digesters. We also covered a few like the basics of decentralized sewage systems, including simplified sewerage, small bore sewer system, shallow sewer system, decentralized wastewater treatment system, which is normally abbreviated as DWATS, and secondary treatment and disposal of effluents. We also saw a short introduction about public toilets, community toilets, and slum sanitation. Right. So in this session, we'll be primarily looking at the previous runs assignment questions for the same week. We'll also be looking at a few general content that is probably relevant to our understanding or to extend your understanding on a few things to sort of inform you as to a few resources that are generally present. To be honest, sanitation is such a wide or such a fundamental problem in urban planning that quite a lot of resources are also present and quite a lot of work has been done on it. And technology is being worked upon every day. So it's always good to know what tools you have, whether you are planning or just to know that these are available. It's a good thing to know what is available in the market or whatever. So online. So let's move on to the theoretical. The questions will primarily be theoretical. I think we have one minor numerical, which is barely numerical, to be honest. And yeah, so the first question that we're going to look at: which of the following parameters constitute the concept of totally sanitized cities? A. Open defecation free. B. Municipal sewage and stormwater drainage. C. Recycling and reuse of treated sewage for non potable applications. And D. Improved public health outcomes and environmental standards. Uh, do we have any answers? Okay. We have one in our chat box. Anybody else? Oh, you're right, Mr. Ashwin. The answer is actually D. You can, if you remember from the slides, we had this section on concepts of totally sanitized cities. The thing is, this is not necessarily a universal term, right? Just keep that in mind. This is something that we are using and under the NUSP. In fact, it was the original concept. I think it was they were there was a concept of total sanitized cities even introduced in 1999, if I'm not wrong. So government tends to sort of bracket and propose new terms or borrowed terms often to in order to address or rather package their schemes, right? So this is one of them, and currently this is what we are focusing on. And if you notice, they're focusing on open defecation free, no manual scavenging, and safety equipment for sanitation workers, municipal sewage and stormwater drainage, recycling and reuse of treated sewage for non-potable applications, solid waste management, services to the poor, improved public health outcomes, and environmental standards. So all of the above are covered. But yeah, as I said, this is something that is very specific to India. In fact, if you dig a little deeper, there is the government website basically says a totally sanitized city is a city which has met all the objectives of the NUSP, the National Sanitation Plan. So that's our answer to
I
that.
have one question
Yes,
about
ma'am.
point B.
Yes, ma'am.
Municipal sewage and stormwater drainage. What it wants to say, like, for totally sanitized
That it should be
city?
addressed, that it should be completely addressed. If you remember, we have these service level benchmarks, right? So according to the service level benchmark, we should attain 100% coverage of municipal sewage handling. And
Yeah, yeah,
often,
correct. But it should be written like addressing or maybe meeting the SLB for municipal sewage, and because it will confuse us. What does it mean? What they want?
so I mean, usually yes, correct, but in the current question they're specifically mentioning parameters. So a parameter is something like a, what are the components, what all are we talking about? I get it, the others are
No, no,
actually
no.
adding verbs to it, right? For example, the improved public health outcomes. I get it. Yeah, I'll actually let the team know. I don't think they will find an issue with the current question because these are all just aspects that it is touching. For example, you can always define totally sanitized city as something where open defecation free is not the open defecation free is not addressed at all. Like the component of open defecation is not addressed at all.
See, no, no, I didn't get me. Like, see, open defecation free, it is written. If
Correct, correct.
open defecation only is written, then we'll get confused. Open defecation what? Like, open defecation free.
I agree.
The
I
same
agree.
way municipal, yeah, the municipal way sewage and stormwater drainage. What?
Correct, correct.
Do
The
you
thing
get
is, I
what I
think,
am?
to be
Yeah,
honest, the full explanation, if you see the NUSP, there are probably
yes.
several points addressing municipal sewage and stormwater drainage, and probably the team has
Yeah,
sort
but
of
in
summarized
slides,
it.
see, but in slides, it's written only the points and explanation is being done. But for options, we must understand what.
No,
Then
no,
only,
I
otherwise,
agree.
A, C, D option, many people will take it.
Okay, I agree. I agree. I'll actually bring it to the attention of the team. I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, everything should be.
Yes.
If they had just mentioned open defecation, sewage of.
Then what?
Uh, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
you get it.
I get it. I
If
get it.
open defecation free is written, then we understand. Yes, this is one of the parameter. अगर
Right,
सिर्फ
right.
open defecation it is written, then we'll get confused, and we
Yes,
won't
yes.
consider that point, right?
I'll bring it to the attention of the team. Uh, I'll
Yeah. Okay.
make
Thank
note of
you.
it. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. So moving on to the next question. This is again almost directly lifted from the slide, if you ask me. Open defecation free cities involve access to safe sanitation and waste dash of facilities for household. So, A disposal, B collection, C management, D treatment. Any answers? Okay, we have one answer in the chat box. A disposal. Correct. So you are absolutely right, Mr. Ashwin. So open defecation free cities are actually focused on access to safe sanitation and waste disposal facility. So particularly focused on disposal, right? Because essentially open defecation happens because of two things. One, not just the access part, but also because of the lack of disposal facilities at the household level. I know of households next to my own house who sort of choose to open defecate if possible, which is quite sad. We live near the coast, uh, only because they don't want their septic tanks filled. And if the septic tank fills up, the collection is sort of, I mean, you'll have to pay some the sewage tanker that is coming in. You'll have to pay for them. Therefore, just because they can't dispose of the waste from their septic tanks, they actually choose to open defecate at least partially. So therefore, that is why this component of disposal is particularly added at the household level, right? So that's our answer. A, disposal. Any questions, any queries? I hope not. These are directly from the. All right, moving on. Match the following organizations with its responsibility concerning sewerage and sewage treatment. So these are also actually given directly in the slide. If you notice, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs essentially formulates policies and provides technical assistance to the states and ULBs. So, originally, sanitation does not come under the central list. If you remember, we spoke about the three lists, central, state, and concurrent lists, which are part of the constitution. And after the 94th Amendment Act, it has primarily become the purview of local bodies, especially when it comes to urban sanitation. Rural sanitation is still probably under the wing of states, because rural sanitation is a very localized problem. But centralization of sanitation at the city level is something that is very much required. Therefore, urban local bodies have been heavily involved in the execution or the implementation part of sanitation policies. However, the formulation of these policies and the provision of technical assistance comes from the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, which is part of the Government of India. Then we have the Ministry of, second one is, it is my, second one is the Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation. We note they are responsible for planning, funding, and coordination of drinking water and sanitation programs in rural areas. As I had said, rural areas, we can't really expect the rural local bodies to take this up. So, Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation looks after this. Non-government organizations, they are involved in programs of capacity building, micro level management of people on behalf of government, reception of grant, including some of them receiving grant money from the government. So this is their purview. And regulators are essentially independent monitoring agencies that sort of look over other agencies, NGOs, urban local bodies, and they basically act as neutral and unbiased estimators of implementation of sanitation plans. So they basically look after compliance to existing laws and rules. So matching all of these, we get the option A, right? So when it comes to NGOs, there are extremely high number of NGOs who actually work on sanitation and access to sanitation. There are very particular niche areas also that are being addressed. For example, there is this organization, Right to Pee, in Mumbai. I got to meet one of their key members. So their focus is all on ensuring the sanitary facilities are available for women in slums. So such niche areas are also being taken up by non-government organizations. Essentially, collectively, all kinds of issues are hopefully addressed. Right. So the next question: Infiltration area required for infiltration of the waste liquids in the leach pit is given by dash. Total flow in pit every hour divided by infiltration rate. Total flow in pit every day divided by infiltration rate. Total flow in pit every hour divided by sludge accumulation rate. And total flow in, okay, so the fourth option is supposed to be in pit every day divided by sludge accumulation rate. Any answers?
It's B.
Okay. Anybody else?
One. Yes, B.
Yeah, the answer is actually B. 1 second. Okay. So you are absolutely right, ma'am. So the answer is B. If you remember from the slides, we have this infiltration area required when we're talking about leach pits. How it is total flow in the pit per day divided by infiltration rate. So the answer is B. Please note that in the previous answer keys that have been uploaded, the answer is given as A, and that's actually wrong. It's probably a typo. It's actually total flow and pit
It's.
every day. You are right.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
every day, right?
yeah,
Not
yeah. It is every day.
not
It's not
every
a.
hour.
Yeah, yeah. It's not every day.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
just to clarify on that mistake that was present in the previous assignment, I believe they are available for download to you. So all right, moving on to the next question. Match the following sewage management systems with its functioning mechanism. So we have four management systems that we are talking about. Packaged septic tank with contact aeration type system, aqua privy, chemical toilet, and multi-chamber anaerobic filter with septic tank. Uh, do any of you have an answer? You can take a bit of time to.
It will be B, but in C option it is written 6 that will be forged. That
Yeah,
is a
yeah, it
mistake,
is
I
four.
guess.
Yeah, yeah,
Type
it is
error.
four. That is
Yeah.
a typo. Yeah. Forgot to change it actually. I noticed it. Yeah, we have another answer B in the chat. Oops. Like the answer is actually B. So we'll just take a quick look at the slides as well. So the packet septic tank is actually mentioned. The slide mentions how contact aeration type system actually uses fixed film plastic media with high specific surface area. It is usually 100 meter square per meter cube per volume of the system with continuous diffusion of control layer. So the control layer is essentially to aerate the water, the sewage. We also have aqua privis. So there is another small issue here. So here the night soil falls directly to the first chamber where it is decomposed in, it is aerobic condition. It's not anaerobic condition. Both chambers are aerobic condition. The thing is there is a vent present here, so it cannot be an anaerobic condition. Anaerobic chambers are essentially sealed off in all directions. So, however, we have this vent, so it's not actually anaerobic, right? Both of them are aerobic registers. So, if you look at the diagram, it's clear, right? So they have double aerobic digestion chambers, and then they have a filter, right? And chemical toilets, we essentially have a concentrated solution of caustic soda, and the excreta is sterilized and liquefied when it comes in contact with caustic soda. So in upflow anaerobic filter, we are talking about a multi-chamber one. So there are multiple chambers of this filter where you have water flowing through for further filtration, right? So it's a fixed bed biological reactor essentially. So the answer is B, except C actually goes with 4, as ma'am had rightly pointed out, right? So let's take a look at this. If you remember in the first slide, the slide actually mentions this Japanese Jokasu system. So let's take a very brief look at this Jokasu system. So this is from a particular company's website. The company is Kubota. Uh, this system is a Japanese decentralized or on-site water treatment system. So the claim is that the normal regular septic tank that is available in many buildings and houses, we have lower treatment performance compared to the Jokasu. So we can expect almost 50% removal of BOD and all the um, contaminants. However, in Jokaso system, the claim is 90% removal, especially of BOD. BOD is our highest issue. So that's organic content in the sewage. So these are some of the options that you have. So you can see they are available in different sizes, right? So and this part is what is going to be above the ground, right? So everything else will be submerged, and this part will be above ground. So you can see a typical cross section. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but it's one unit that has all of these multiple chambers, right? So this is a small size Jokoso system, middle size Jokoso system, and large sized one. The large sized one is actually pretty huge if you look at it. So this is an example of the large size system. So you can access them from above. You have these very detailed set of access ways providing pathways to access these openings, right? So the functioning is very it has five major components. One, the first part is a solid liquid separation tank. The second one is an anaerobic filter bed, and then the third one is a moving bed tank, which is an aerobic filter bed. So you have a blower that is providing the aeration here, and there's going to be a valve here, so that prevents backflow of air if you are concerned about that. Then you have carrier filter tank or sedimentation tank, and then finally you have a disinfection tank where addition of chlorine happens, right? So they use a variety of microorganisms, and usually they are cocktails. They use multiple microorganisms together for efficiency. These are some of them that they claim to be using, right? So that is a small introduction on the Jokasu system. If you want, you can go to this website. They have details of as to how the what are the types of mechanisms that they use. So they claim to have two major technologies. One is the membrane bioreactor system. So this is probably similar to the membrane that our slides talk about, where there is a plastic membrane through which the filtration happens. There is also a moving bed carrier filter method, which is the aeration part of it. Right. So these are technologies that they're employing. You can just take a look at it for a typical idea. So they're basically considered very compact and efficient. In fact, the large sized ones are popularly employed in hospitals, especially because hospital waste has its own complications, and it's preferred that you isolate the treatment of effluents coming from hospitals because of the high disease burden, etc. So these systems come in very handy to handle such situations. The other, you also have these water treatment plants. The requirement for water treatment in small units such as offices in hilly areas or hostels in hilly areas. So these areas efficiently can employ Japanese Jokasu system because of its, it's basically comes as one package, right? However, the major disadvantage is the requirement of high maintenance. So operation is also not that easy. You need to closely monitor the functioning of the system to make sure it's functioning smoothly, right? So that's a small introduction on Lucas's systems. Moving on to the next question. Which of the following statements is are false for a decentralized storage system? A. It is suitable for low density communities and where STP capacity is limited. B. It is suitable for low density communities and provides localized water use opportunities. C. It is suitable where STP capacity is limited but targeted treatment for specific sewage constituents is not possible. And D. It is suitable where STP capacity can be expanded and targeted treatment for specific sewage constituents is possible. So, which of these statements is false? Is the question. Any answers?
I guess ACD is wrong.
A is wrong.
ACD is wrong. Only B is correct.
Which one is correct?
B is correct. B for Bombay,
Okay.
and
Okay.
all other three is wrong. False.
Any other answers? Okay. So the actual false statement here is C. To be honest, the statement C could have been framed better if you ask me, because it doesn't really capture the issue here. But A is correct. It is suitable for low density communities and where STP capacity is limited. So if you look at the slide, sir also points out about how this community is essentially, it's a low density community, and or rather this community, let us take this one, this is a low density community, right? And the STB capacity is limited. However, I remember that sir had mentioned that you can just have on-site systems here, right? Instead of a decentralized system. However, the usual aim of any, especially urban area, is to bring everybody into the picture. Okay, so given an option, we will want to bring those people also into the uh, centralized, decentralized sewerage system rather than on-site system. So a decentralized sewerage system will sort of be ideal in this case if we want to avoid on-site systems, right? Also, decentralized sewage systems can also be employed in combination with on-site systems, even though they are sparsely located, so that the effluent part is treated immediately and not allowed to penetrate. Right? The question is mildly ambiguous, I agree, but let's just go through the concepts and hopefully those will help. The second statement, it is suitable for low density communities, same argument, and provides localized water use opportunities. So if you look at the slides, he has actually mentioned sorry, if it is possible to use the water or reuse the water locally, it is better to go for a decentralized system, right? Our third option is it is suitable where STP capacity is limited, but targeted treatment for specific sewage constituents is not possible. So, essentially, what they are saying is it is suitable where STP capacity is limited, which means the current STP cannot handle the excess load that we are looking at. But targeted treatment for specific sewage constituents is not possible. So, they are talking about something like, for example, fecal sludge management. If you remember, we can add only 5% of the fecal sludge into the 5% or less of the fecal sludge into a regular processing plant, right? Uh, Therefore, here the issue is when you say targeted treatment is not possible. However, so what? We can still employ a decentralized system here. So this is where I differ from this option C. technically, if it is expandable, matlab if the regular STP capacity is expandable, but targeted treatment for specific sewage constituents is not possible, then the answer would be like false, right? It really could have been framed better. But the fourth option that we have is it is suitable where STP capacity can be expanded and targeted treatment for specific sewage constituents is possible. Here it makes sense because even though STP capacity can be expanded, you can use the existing STP. However, we can resort to targeted treatment for a particular type of sewage that is coming off. So then yes, decentralized sewerage system makes sense, right? So which is also mentioned in the slide actually. So when targeted treatment for specific sewage constituents is possible. For example, like I mentioned, hospitals, even though the regular STP can handle it, if we can isolate hospitals sewage, it's better, right? It is targeted treatment at the end of the day. So or even in case of fecal sludge management. So the answer for this question is C, but yes, the wording is mildly ambiguous, and again, I will bring it to the attention of the team. That being said, I would also like to bring to your notice this fecal sludge and septage management in India. There's a website under the Swachh Bharat mission. So we actually have a fecal sludge management policy. Right? So, one second. National Policy on Fecal Sludge and Septage Management (FSSM) is a document that was released by the Government of India by the Ministry of Urban Development in February 2017. So they talk about the various systems like the private pit, etc. You can see it here: septic tank with drain field, septic tank with soak pit. They do talk about all the technological options, but it is essentially uh, a policy document, which is not a mandatory document but more of a guidance document on fecal sludge and septage management in India. So they even talk about a separate fecal sludge treatment plant, which is an example of particular treatment, right? Usually, fecal sludge management is a problem because the septic tankers that come and collect fecal sludge essentially go and release it in some water body, some river, etc., which is where the issue arises, right? So that's one. So let's look at the small numerical that was part of the previous assignment. This is very similar to the current assignment, but nonetheless, I would take it up because it's available to you anyway. What is the minimum number of dispersion trenches to be provided if the area required for dispersion trench is 90 meters square? Consider the width of the dispersion trench as 1 meter. So, does anybody remember the maximum length of a dispersion trench that we can have?
30 meters, so it will be C3.
Yeah, you've gone ahead and solved the problem now. Yes, that's the answer actually. So we require an area of 90 meters for dispersion and the width is 1 meter. We need to find the number of dispersion trenches. The maximum length of dispersion trench that is allowed permitted is 30 meters. So first we calculate the total length of the trench, which will be area divided by width of trench. In this case, it is 90 divided by 1. So that gives us 90 meters of total length. Right, but the number of trenches will essentially be total length divided by maximum length. So 90, the unit is wrong. Sorry. No, the unit is fine, right? Yeah. So 90 divided by 3. So that gives us 3. And that's our answer, 3 trenches. So again, building up on the graphics that were shown in the slide, this is sort of how the conventional trench system works. So this is taken from the EPA, Environmental Planning Agency of the US. So you can see how we'll have these septic tank, and then the water is sort of taken to a distribution box, if you remember, and then we'll have 3 trenches of 30 meters where percolation is taking place, not just at the end, so it's taking place throughout. And this is also something that I found the graphic of, so I'm showing you. Sir was also mentioning how we can have multiple septic tanks, like for a small community or a set of houses being connected, and then we have several trenches coming from a central distribution box, essentially, right? So that is also a possibility. So, right. So we have this GBRA website, which is again a US based website. It might be something that was designed originally for probably younger audience, but I think it sort of helps us visualize the entire process of generation. Um, I think I closed the website. While it loads, oh, this is one decentralized wastewater treatment system, that's something that I'm familiar with. At this AEPI at NIMLI, it's actually the educational wing of sorts of Center for Science and Environment. So they have a very detailed uh, decentralized water treatment system. They call it DWWTS. So it covers a span of 10 acres, and if you ever get the chance to visit the campus, it's a little remotely located, but yes, they have a beautiful demonstration of how it's not just a matter of installing the system, but you also have, like, you can see the system almost functioning. So they have an entire topography where this entire system functioning is visible. Another recommendation that I have in general for understanding any sanitation or water treatment system is to just go and somehow, if you can, if you have access to, please visit a facility, water treatment plant or a sewage facility. No, I had the opportunity to visit the one in Trichy as part of IHS one workshop, and that understanding is what carries me through even now. It's actually beautiful how much your brain can retain when you encounter such systems in person. Okay, so this is how the system is essentially. mm yeah, is it visible on the screen? Yes, it is visible, right? So you can play around a little. It might be a little juvenile, but this is the house, and then when you go to the septic tank and you can run the water and see how it functions. And this is a trend system. What they're showing here, right? So essentially, the trend sort of, and it's not such an up and down system. It continuously works. So they're just trying to show that it changes. Right? So you can use this website to understand, or rather show it if you are an educator and you want to show it to someone else. I found it very useful. So yeah, that's all for the week. There are a few other resources like the shit flow diagram and stuff, but I think we'll look at it as part of the next week, because by then I'm hopeful that we'll be done with the centralized or the conventional sewerage system. So thank you all. Do you have any queries?
No, thank you.
Any other issues with the course in general? Or, all right, then we'll call it a day if there are no other additional queries or any requests. I hope these sessions are in general useful. If you would like me to change the format or add some other content, you can always let me know either on the discussion forum or during one of the sessions. So, thank you all for joining us today.